There you have it, 4-1. The final score at Vicarage Road. As we said, the first time Watford has beaten Chelsea since 1999. Top half of the Premier League looks like this. Chelsea in fourth, 1 point behind Liverpool, and 1 point ahead of Spurs.
Where do we start? Well, where do we start with what's going on at Chelsea?
It seems like every bad performance, I want to look to the situation with Conte and say that's having some impact.
This is no surprise, this result.
Why?
Because the signals coming out of Stamford Bridge, of Chelsea, of the team, is almost like a mirror image of the current manager. Unhappy, no energy. I mean, let's take Bakayoko. Take Bakayoko's performances from Monaco last year and compare them to this year at Chelsea. He was such a dynamic midfielder getting about the field. He's been poor, and today he was abysmal. I mean, he was absolutely abysmal before he got sent off. But I thought Chelsea would give Conte till after the Barcelona double-header. But I personally think now they should sack him before. Because he's whinging, he's moaning, the team are not playing well, and they're in grave danger of dropping out the top four if Spurs and Arsenal put a run together.
For a manager that we have in the past talked about the energy that he brings on the sideline, his body language, and no, we're not body language experts, but his body language in the past has been one of intensity, urgency, getting his players in certain positions, supporting the team from the sidelines, organizing. None of that is happening right now for Antonio Conte. The team scores a goal, doesn't matter. They get scored on, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters at this point for Antonio Conte. And when you see that lack of energy, that lack of urgency, it just tells me something very simple. He doesn't want to be there. He's asking, he's begging to be fired. It's as simple as that. There is nothing about Antonio Conte that tells me or tells anybody else that he wants any part of this job.
Stevie?
I think when you watch his team playing, it's completely the opposite of a guy who we said last season what a great coach he was. You know, he turned it round, he went to 3 at the back. They were so organised, it was incredible. Well, this Chelsea team you see now is a shambles. There's absolutely no correlation from the back to the middle to the front. You got a bunch of guys running around in a blue jersey, not knowing whether to go forward, go back, go sideways, nothing. And to me, that's down to the coach. He's taking his foot off the pedal. I just don't think he wants to be there.
No.
To be fair, he's not the only manager this has happened to at Chelsea.
No, it just seems to happen quite a lot.
So
why wouldn't you play Giroud? You know, I don't know if he's 100% fit, but surely to God he is. Why the Hazard through the middle, right? Flanked by 2 players, this time Willian and Pedro, hasn't worked. Hazard through the middle on his own has not worked, right? Now, is he another manager that's trying to make a statement and saying, well, this is not the guy I wanted to get in? You just get him on the pitch, man. That's what you bought him for. He's only on an 18-month contract. Get him in, get him playing, and get Eden Hazard in his best position. But no, he leaves him on the bench. That's just one of the problems. That is just one of the problems. If any of us here don't believe in what the Chelsea board are doing, if Conte doesn't believe in what the Chelsea board are doing, or whatever, it doesn't matter. That's what the players they target are the players they target. He's there to coach, right? He's there to coach, and they make financial decisions behind the scenes. It's been known for a while that they're pulling the money back a little bit, right? They're not going to go like Abramovich once did, where he'd match Real Madrid and Barcelona, and he would blow the Manchester clubs out the water. They're clearly taking a different direction. Now, he's just got to get on with that, Conte, but he's clearly shown the Chelsea board, and more importantly, the Chelsea owner, that unless he gets it his way, he wants to go. Well, I'll tell you what, this Russian owner at Chelsea, he'll make sure it goes, because he's seen bigger and better managers off than Antonio Conte.
it was such smooth sailing for so long, and then Diego Costa happened.
Well, you don't text people either about a move.
Well, do you think this traces back to that?
Well, that's just bad. I mean, whether Conte was a problem for him, I don't know. But we all know you don't text a player to tell him he's not wanted. It's bad man management.
You don't do that with somebody who's in the back end of your roster. Never mind someone who's in the front end. One of the most important players you have, perhaps the key as to why you won a title, because of the important goals that Diego Costa scored, because of what he means to the club. You have to reach out in a manner in which you manage the player, because that's part of your job as well. So that was mismanagement. And from then on, we can point on to so many other circumstances where Antonio Conte just feels like, look, like he wants to do something else. Like this is no longer part of his priority. And the lack of urgency and energy that we saw once again today on the sidelines, I think is appalling.
I mean, you're really telling me that he didn't understand how Chelsea worked when he took over the job? He had stuff. This is a guy who had to be persuaded. So this is a guy who was in such a strong position. It was up to him when he joined Chelsea to lay down what he wanted and how he wanted to do things. So he obviously knew coming in what it was all about. And now he's moaning. And as Craig said, 100% there is no way that Conte pushed to get Giroud. Because as a coach, or a manager, when you push to bring a player in, I'll tell you what, he's the first guy on your team sheet. He's not sitting on the bench.
The same way that a couple of years ago, the players for Chelsea stopped playing for Jose Mourinho, it's happening right now with Antonio Conte. They're not playing. It's no longer about their performance. It's no longer pride in their individual performance or the group performance. It's just not happening. And you see players that usually you can rely upon, they can't move. And the reason they can't move is not because physically they cannot do it. It's gotten to the point to where everything that is going on around Chelsea and inside Chelsea affects the performance on the field.
If he wants fired, he's got the right owner.
Oh yeah,
He's in the right seat if he wants fired.
Doing the right things.
And listen, who's going to feel sorry for him? Because this is what he wants. He doesn't want to be. He does not want to be at Stamford Bridge anymore. He wants to hot-foot it off somewhere else, whether it's back to Italy or take the national team or go back and manage domestically in Serie A. That's what he wants. And I tell you, Chelsea have shown, whether you agree or not, that over the piece, they've happily sacked managers around this time of the season and put an interim coach in for the final 3-4 months of the season. And I tell you how successful it was once. Roberto Di Matteo won the Champions League as an interim manager. So they will probably fire this guy sooner rather than later.
Real quick, is there any reason not to fire him right now before Barcelona?
No, he should go.
No, and he wouldn't give you a reason either.
No.
He wants out.
No?
I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it in his body language at all. I see a man that only wants out.
So what do we do when there's a questionable call? We go to Twitter. Let's see, was the penalty call on Virgil van Dijk correct?
Kidding me?
Look, 60% of people almost are saying no. Alex, should this even be a debate?
No. It is 100% a penalty. The argument that is being made out there is that, well, he doesn't know that Lamela is behind him. Well, it's his responsibility to know. He's got to have awareness as to what is around him. He takes a full swing, and that full swing takes Lamela down. Yes, does Lamela draw the foul? Yes, he does. But there's no question in my mind this is a penalty. Now, the other question is whether Lamela was in an offside position. But that's a different discussion. If we're talking about Van Dijk's tackle on Lamela, 100% a penalty.
Shaka, how come 60% of people say not a penalty?
Because there are 60% of our respondents are Liverpool fans. That's my only assumption.
They're
here.
not just fans, it's other pundits.
Look, if you take the incident on its own for what it is, this is beyond question. That is a penalty. That's not the debate. The only debate to be had here is should the flag have gone up for Lamela being offside, as Ali rightly points out. Once it doesn't, whatever the linesman is thinking, and I'm not in a position to judge that, there's no question that Van Dijk makes contact with Lamela. Whether he knows Lamela's coming round his blind side or not is totally irrelevant. It's all about the contact, and there is contact.
John Moss, the center ref, seems to have a pretty good look at it, yet it's the assistant ref that makes the call. Do you have any problem with that?
No, I just would like consistency across the board from assistant referees that are also there on the field to make calls and to make decisions. And if he saw the contact, then yes, raise your flag by all means. The argument, though, from Liverpool fans would be, well, raise your flag for the offside. And then we're not having this discussion at all. I find that the referees are there to do a job. And in this particular occasion, if we're evaluating just a contact on Virgil van Dijk on Lamela, they get it right.
Like the discussion that some people are saying or suggesting is that the referee needs to go over to his linesman to ask for an explanation as to what it is. Which, on the one hand, I understand, but on the other, no, he doesn't. Referees and their assistants work in teams. So you work with the same linesman game in, game out for the most part. And you have a way of doing things. Referees have a way of doing things with their assistants. Now, if the understanding between this group is that if you see something and you're sure Put your flag up, and I'll give it. I don't need to discuss it. So even that, for me, is a non-discussion.
What about the first penalty decision? There's this gray area. Is it deliberate from Dejan Lovren? Why is there a gray area in the rule?
Well, the gray area is because the law just states that there has to be a deliberate attempt to play the ball. And I don't think anybody can dispute that Lovren tried to play the ball. Now, for me, I feel that there needs to be intent to play the ball in that direction. Now, the counter-argument that I have heard and other referees have put towards me in those meetings is that, let's suppose lower down the leagues, because we're going to freely assume that this doesn't happen in the Premier League, a ball comes floating over the face of the goal and somebody at the far post tries to head it but makes an absolute mess of it and hits him in the back of the head and falls nicely for a striker. You can't be judged to be offside in that circumstance. Now, of course, again, you don't expect that to happen at this level of the game, but laws, when they're written, are meant to apply to every level of football that there is. And as a result, I'm kind of in the minority, certainly in those rule-making halls, shall we call it.
If we want to find blind spots in the laws and gray areas in the laws, well, we can certainly go ahead and do so. What I would say is that you cannot convince me that it would have been a better play for Dejan Lovren to just fall on his backside, do absolutely nothing, and then if the ball goes through, then Harry Kane is offside and we have no issue. The fact of the matter that Dejan Lovren decides to play the ball is because he can see off his shoulder the movement of Harry Kane. So Harry Kane, from an offside position, is impacting the play. And at that point, he's benefiting from that very position, from the offside position. In my mind, there is no question this is offside, but I can see, as what Shaq is talking about, that again, this seems to be some sort of gray area, some sort of blind spot in the law in which referees are covering themselves. Anybody who's ever played the game at any sort of level looks at this play and you evaluate it for what it is, it comes out as offside.